The Ant and the Mouse. There was once an ant who, while sweeping her house, one day found 3 quattrini, and began to say, "What shall I buy? What shall I buy? Shall I buy meat? No, because meat has bones, and I should choke. Shall I buy fish? No, for fish has bones, and I should be scratched." After she had mentioned many other things, she concluded to buy a red ribbon. She put it on and sat in the window. An ox passed by and said, "How pretty you are. Do you want me for your husband?" She said, "Sing, so that I may hear your voice." The ox, with great pride, raised his voice. After the ant had heard it, she said, "No, no, you frighten me." A dog passed by, and the same happened to him as to the ox. After many animals had passed, a little mouse went by and said, "How pretty you are. Do you want me for your husband?" She said, "Let me hear you sing." The mouse sang and went, "Pie, pie, pie." His voice pleased the ant, and she took him for her husband. Sunday came, and while the ant was with her friends, the mouse said, "My dear little aunt, I am going to see whether the meat that you have put on the fire is done." He went, and when he smelled the odor of the meat, he wanted to take a little. He put in one paw and burned it. He put in the other and burned that too. He stuck in his nose, and the smoke drew him into the pot, and the poor little mouse was all burned. The ant waited for him to eat. She waited for 2 and 3 hours. The mouse did not come. When she could wait no longer, she put the dinner on the table. But when she took out the meat, out came the mouse dead. When she saw him, the ant began to weep, and all her friends, and the ant remained a widow, because he, who is a mouse, must be a glutton. If you don't believe it, go to her house, and you will see her. The Fool Boy. Once upon a time, there was a mother who had a son with little brains. One morning, she said, "We must get up early, for we have to make bread." So they both rose early and began to make bread. The mother made the loaves, but took no pains to make them the same size. Her son said to her finally, "How small you have made this loaf, mother." "Oh," said she, "it does not matter whether they are big or little, for the proverb says, 'Large and small, all must go to mass.'" Good, good. When the bread was made, instead of carrying it to the baker's, the son took it to the church, for it was the hour for Mass, saying, "My mother said that large and small, all must go to Mass." So he threw the loaves down in the middle of the church. Then he went home to his mother and said, "I have done what you told me to do." Good. Did you take the bread to the baker's? Oh, mother, if you had seen how they all looked at me. You might also have cast an eye on them in return, said his mother. Wait, wait, I will cast an eye at them too, he exclaimed, and went to the stable, and cut out the eyes of all the animals, and putting them in a handkerchief, went to the church, and when any man or woman looked at him, he threw an eye at them. When his mother learned what he had done, she took to her bed and sent her son for a physician. When the doctor came, he felt her pulse and said, "Oh, how weak this poor woman is." Then he told the son that he must take good care of his mother and make her some very thin broth, and give her a bowlful every minute. The son promised to obey him and went to the market and bought a sparrow and put on the fire a pail of water. When it boiled, he put in the sparrow and waited until it boiled up 2 or 3 times, and then took a bowl of the broth to his mother and repeated the dose as fast as he could. The next day, the physician found the poor woman weaker than ever and told her son he must put something heavy on her, so as to throw her into a perspiration. When the doctor had gone, the son piled all the heavy furniture in the room on her, and when she could no longer breathe, he ran for the doctor again. This time the doctor saw that nothing was to be done and advised her son to have her confess and prepare for death. So her son dressed her and carried her to church and sat her in the confessional and told the priest that someone was waiting for him, and then went home. The priest soon saw that the woman was dead and went to find her son. When the son heard that his mother was dead, he declared that the priest had killed her and began to beat him. Firazana's wife and the queen. Firazanu was the valet of a prince in Palermo, on whom he also played his tricks, but as Firazanu was known, and everybody was amused by him, the prince overlooked them. The queen was once in Palermo, and wished to know Firazanu. He went to see her, and amused her somewhat. The queen said, "Are you married or single?" "Married, your majesty." "I wish to make your wife's acquaintance." "How can that be, your majesty, for my wife is deaf?" Firazana made this up out of his own head, for it was not true. "No matter, when I speak with her, I will scream. Go, have your wife come here." Firazana went home. "Fanny, the queen wants to know you, but you must remember that she is a little hard of hearing, and if you wish to speak to her, you must raise your voice." "Very well," said his wife, "let us go." When they arrived at the palace, she said to the queen, in a loud voice, "At your majesty's feet." The queen said to herself, "You see, because she is deaf, she screams, as if everybody else were deaf." Then she said to her loudly, "Good day, my friend, how do you do?" "Very well, your majesty," answered Firazana's wife, still louder. The queen, to make herself heard, raised her voice, and screamed also, and Fanny for her part, cried out louder and louder, so that it seemed as if they were quarreling. Firazana could contain himself no longer, and began to laugh, so that the queen perceived the joke, and if Firazana had not run away, perhaps she would have had him arrested, and who knows how the matter had ended. Thank you.